Roland A. Herriges is my name. I go by Rawl. I started at AGC in late 1974 and I was hired because Mr. Hively was going to be retiring within a year or so, and he was the trust director, and so they needed somebody to fill in, and I also did public relations work for them. Well, Merv was the executive director and Sam Guess was still here. He was the executive vice president at the time. So I actually worked for and with Merv, although with Sam, whatever project he had also. And my main jobs, well, I started out as public relations, and then I got on the trusts, and finally I was the management trustee on all the 5 construction crafts here, and I sat on a total of 18 trusts while we were through the years of, I was here from late 74 to the end of 86. Actually, the way it started was I was with an advertising and PR company during Expo 74, and when it ended in early November, I had my report for AGC was one of my clients while I was there, so my report was the next day after the end of Expo 74, and so I was released from duty there. And then I came out here to make my report the next day, and after it was over, I told Merv that Merv Cedarblom was the executive director at the time. I told him that, well, I'm not going to be making these reports anymore because I don't have a job. And he says, oh, wait a minute. So I found out that was on a Wednesday. I remember this well, and the next Monday I had a job at AGC. One of the best jobs I've ever had in my life, frankly. Well, I don't know whether it's an issue or not, but the one project that I was the proudest of was I proposed that we do a scholastic a fund for giving college students scholarships, and that proposal was made in 1981, and then there's of course the 1,000 different avenues you got to go to get approvals on it, and finally got through all the governments and our approval in '83. So we started raising money then, and if I remember correctly, we made our first scholarship awards, I believe it was in '85. And we started out with Washington State, Gonzaga, University of Idaho, and University of Washington. And then for some reason, Idaho didn't care to keep on going, so we added Seattle University. And somebody asked why Seattle University specifically, and well, Dan Murphy was the chairman of the fund at that time, and he graduated from Seattle University. So they and up until they stopped using construction management courses, we switched to, they weren't on it anymore either. So now, and then we went that route for quite some time. And then just recently, 2 years ago, started awarding the scholarships ourselves, the board members. go through applications from all of the college students that we get, and we get quite a number of them, 15 or 20, and award 4, 5, 6. I think this year we awarded 7 scholarships of a couple thousand, or up to a couple thousand apiece, which I think is quite an accomplishment for having started with nothing that long ago. And we've been awarding scholarships. I have no idea how much the aggregate would be, but it's quite a number. Well, like I said, the Scholarship Foundation, and I like the production of the annual report every year. It was quite a writing job, but it was an interesting job. And then whatever public relations and advertising and public information that we would come up with, advertising all of our activities to the public and within house also. That was why I was hired, and I thoroughly enjoyed every bit of it. And the trust work was also interesting. Being the management trustee, and there were quite a number of members of the member or people on the trust boards that came from the contractors too. I wasn't the only management trustee, but we had some interesting times working with the other side in managing all of the trusts. And when I started, they had maybe one of the pension funds had $10 million in it. Now it's got something like $150 million. It's amazing how they've grown. But that's good management, as well as a lot of money the contractors put into it. So the trust business probably took about 60% of my time, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And we had a few rough spots here and there, but mainly everything worked out pretty good. The union trustees could easily work with. A lot of them are still my friends. We had the annual meetings we worked on those all year long, and they were a great production, putting everything together and working with the hotels to get them to give us what we needed for the gathering. And we usually had 300-400 people at them, and they were well supported by all the contractors and all the associate members. They were all of those projects, putting together meetings. We had meetings by the barrel all year long, but putting those all together was fun. I enjoyed that kind of work, and it worked out really well. Going back through some of the annual reports that were produced during my time here, I noticed that they were up and down, of course, like the economy's always been. But everything was going quite well up through the early part of '80 and in the '80s, and in the middle of the '80s, everything started going downhill. And if I remember correctly, '84 was a bad year. Then it started coming back up again, and of course '87 wasn't all that great with a big crash in the markets and so forth. But during my time here, it was pretty well in the upper areas. Wasn't any serious problems with the economy, but and AGC rolled right along there. All the members supported AGC quite well. It was a small staff, but they worked long, hard hours. Monty, Peggy, Gruey was one of them. Carolyn Pierce, Mary Lynch, and I can't remember all of them. That was a long time ago, but we had and Merv Cedarbloom. We all worked together well, and everybody knew what everybody else's job was, and everybody pitched in to get the job done. When we had a meeting, everybody was involved with it. It wasn't just somebody's job to do and the rest of us looked on. Everybody. We had quarterly meetings, annual meetings, monthly meetings. I remember one, I looked at my calendar, I marked down on my calendar, of course, every meeting that I went to. And at the end of the year, I went back through my calendar and counted the meetings that I had gone to. There was something like 325 meetings in 365 days. That's pretty good. But everybody pitched in. That was the main thing. That there was a job to do. We all did it. Well, it's interesting. When I was first in it, well, all the way through the time that I was in it, contractors were pretty good partiers. I think they're much more serious these days, and there isn't quite that much going on. Not that everybody doesn't have a good time doing the job that they're doing, but it's a more, if I could use the expression, a more sobering organization now than it was in those days. There were, and I'm not telling any stories out of line. There were pretty wild times in between 75 and 85 or 86 when I was here. But the job still got done. There was never, as far as I know anyhow, there was never any serious problems about getting the job done. Well, my association with AGC started way back in 1974, and although I hadn't heard any more than normal citizens about what construction was all about, we always saw buildings going up and highways being torn up and put back into order again, and nobody really thinks that much about what it takes to get that all done. But I had the opportunity, and I jumped at it to join the staff at AGC. And I learned a lot in a short order about what construction was all about, why it was important, how it was done, and the reason for it, and the people involved. And it's amazing, most people don't understand other than seeing buildings being built and highways and sidewalks and that type of thing, about the people who do those things. And in my view, and reflecting on, it was a long time ago that I was with AGC, but reflecting on all of the people that I worked with and met and were a part of, I think that was probably the 12 years that I was at AGC was probably the best 12 years in my working career, mainly because of the people that I was involved with and that are involved with AGC. And I don't see why it would be any different now from what it was 35 years ago. We are the AGC.